Hey, everybody. This week on the Daily Dose, our theme is Be Human. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to take a deep breath. Everyone, inhale. You are human. You don't have to be anything more than just simply being you. I think that is often the opposite message of the Christian church through history, unfortunately. Somehow, some of us, we grew up with this idea that to be Christian meant that you aren't quite good enough, that you've always got to get better, that you've always got to improve, you've always got to do more. And maybe one of the most tragic messages of our Christian faith is this, that you have to look more like a good Christian looks, that there is a model of what it looks like to be a Christian. You have got to conform your life. You've got to become a cookie cutter Christian. Well, folks, here's what you know. Here's what I know. Being a cookie cutter Christian, that's not being human. Being human, because God created every one of us uniquely. I have a little plant here that I borrowed from my friend's office. And here's what's true about little plants like this. You can stick them in a pot and take care of them, and they'll be just fine. But if you were to take, for example, a tree, a small tree, and put it in a bucket, eventually that tree would outgrow the bucket. And because it's placed in the bucket would suffocate the tree. The tree would die because that space inside isn't big enough for it to grow. And here's what I think. The same is true for us. When it comes to the life of faith, so often we think of faith as this thing that we have to conform to. Our lives have to be put in a bucket. Faith means we have to become a facsimile of some model of the Christian life. We got to put our lives in a bucket. Well, here's the good news about the way that God created us. Jesus created us with the capacity to choose. Did you know this? You get to choose. You get to be you. You get to be human. We see this all over the story of Jesus' life. Jesus is constantly hanging out with people who were marginalized in that ancient world. They were people in that ancient world who did not get the privilege of choosing because they were marginalized. And time and time again, when Jesus would approach those people who were marginalized, he gave them the opportunity to choose. For example, if we look in the book of Mark, chapter 10, we hear a story. It says, "Then they came to Jericho, a small town, and as Jesus and his disciples were there, they were together with a large crowd. They were leaving the city, and a blind man, Bartimaeus, he was sitting by the roadside begging. When he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, this blind man, he began to shout, 'Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me.' Well, many of the people who were watching, they rebuked this man. They told him to be quiet. But he shouted all the more, 'Son of David, have mercy on me.' And so Jesus stopped and he said, 'Call him.' So they called to the blind man, 'Cheer up, on your feet. He's calling you.' Throwing his cloak aside, he jumped to his feet and he came to Jesus. And that's when Jesus said to this marginalized man, this man who had never been given any choices in his life because of his status, Jesus said to him, 'What do you want me to do with you? What do you want me to do for you?' The Son of God, the Savior of the world, was saying to this marginalized man, 'Hey, you get to choose. What do you want me to do for you?' It's the same kind of thing Jesus did with the woman at the well. He sat down next to her. He listened to his story. This woman, she had had 5 husbands. The man she was shacking up with, it wasn't her husband either. This woman was marginalized. And Jesus said to her, would you give me a drink? You see, what Jesus did is he gave the woman a choice. She could choose if she did or not. When Jesus was calling his disciples, he went to each and every one of them, and he said to them, 'Would you follow me?' You see, the story of our faith is that again and again, Jesus gives people the opportunity to choose. You get to choose. God created you with the ability to choose. He didn't create you as cyborgs or as robots. We get to choose. And so the question is, Will we choose to tell the people around us that when it comes to the life of faith, the way God created us, we get to choose? God didn't say you have to be a cookie cutter Christian. Your life has to look a certain way. You've got to get your act together. You've got to do more. You've got to be more. You've got to improve your life. Now, this God of ours looks at you and me and says, I love you so much. You get to choose. Folks, be human. Thanks for joining us for the Daily Dose. I'm so glad you tuned in. If you like this and you're watching on Facebook, we'd love for you to give it a thumbs up. Maybe you'd share it with other people. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the little bell so you get notifications. If you're watching on Cable Access 181, man, why don't you invite a friend to watch with you tomorrow? Thanks so much. Have a good one.